Welcome to Meep's complete guide to Master Duel Spright. Here you can see the table of contents of this video. Everything is also labeled in the timestamps so you can watch parts you're interested in or just everything. My goal here is to teach you everything I know, so if you're a new player wondering what I should craft first, it's 100% Spright. You can play so many variants of it from Melffy Frog, Tri-Brigade, Synchro, and even Twin Spright, which I've already made a guide to. All of the duels in this video are from Master Rank. I had a 10-game win streak breaking into Master Rank 2, and then a 5-game win streak getting into Master Rank 1. I started this season in Gold Rank, and I've shared bits and pieces of my climb, and it has led to the creation of this guide. Huge shout out to my friend and fellow MCS Invitational participant Zeke, who has been helping me test and bounce ideas with. I'll have his Twitter link description down below. So grab a snack and get ready to be a Spright master. I know exactly how we can get warmed up in 3, 2, 1. You might be wondering how I ended up on this board. Earlier in my turn, they tried to ash my Gigantic but I negated it. That's why they only have 4 cards. I am about to show you something called Plan Z. If you've followed me for some time now, you already know what's coming. They start with Sekka's Light, so we know that they're on Adamancipator. I've played Adamancipator before the Vernus Elves came out, so I'm not too familiar with what the new cards do, but I'm sure we can figure it out one step at a time. As soon as they summon a monster, I bounce back my caddy, adding Penny to my hand, and then Melffy of the Forest negates the duck, and it can no longer attack this turn. They summon the fairy, and then we bounce it back with Sprint. This time, they summon Seeker, and we have to banish it before it can excavate. Finally, they use their normal summon, and it's time for Plan Z. Chain Link 1 Elf, Chain Link 2 Maxx, Chain Link 3 Masquerena. Link everything into Zeroboros, and summon Jet to its link zone. Jet adds starter to my hand for next turn, and Zeroboros banishes the whole field. At any point in their turn, I could have summoned Penny and Synchro into a level 4 monster, but there was no point in doing that under Maxx. In standby, Zeroboros summons itself and then they chain Maxx. I normal Caddy and special summon Baldrake by banishing a Gigantic from my grave. We move into battle, and it's over. They never even knew what hit them. Hopefully, from now on, if you see an IP and Elf on the board, you consider the possibility of Plan Z. I hope that's gotten you all warmed up. This is the exact deck list I used to get into Master Rank 1. I'll have a yugioh Pro deck list for every deck I show in this video. We are currently in a Bystial format, so it's very important to keep track of whenever a light or dark monster hits the grave. A Bystial is a level 6 dark dragon monster that can target one light or dark monster from either graveyard to banish and then summon itself. If your opponent has a monster on the field, this becomes a quick effect. Keep in mind that the Bystial needs to banish that targeted monster, so if your opponent chains their own Bystial and targets the same monster, your Bystial will not resolve and summon itself. Depending on what you play against, you can play around with the number of Bystials or Imperms in your list. So what does Bystial format mean for Sprights? You need to overlay into Gigantic as fast and safely as you can. We need to bait out their negates before we attempt to use Gigantic. This way, we can lock them out from summoning Bystials or Nibiru this turn. Before we look at what happens if you do not do this in Master Rank, let's talk about one card in my extra deck, specifically Paleozoic Opabinia. I was so tired of Exo Sisters and Mirror Jades banishing my monsters, so I added this. They can't banish it with monster effects, and if they have a monster in defense position, I can safely get to my Zeus and clear the field. If you do not want to play Opabinia, I cover replacement options in the tech card section. Anyways, back to Bystials. Even though Spright is almost unbeatable going first, they make 3 mistakes that cost them the duel. They start with normal red, special blue, add carrot, and special jet adding double cross to their hand. Mistake number 1. They link into elf first using 2 dark monsters. Remember, turbo out gigantic first, so no one can special summon Bystials. They attempt to bring back blue and I target it with Serenir. They didn't want me to have Serenir on board, so they negate and destroy it with red. Blue gets summoned back, and Serenir sends Baldrake to the grave just to thin out the deck. Special carrot, link red and blue into Sprint. This plays around Imperm perfectly, since you can just tribute Sprint away so its effect resolves. Also, I think it's a good habit when going first to summon everything in defense position. The only exception is Gigantic when it has 3200 attack. Gigantic summons Swap Frog and Swap Frog sends Ronin to the grave, link into their second elf, Ronin summons itself. Mistake number 2. I do not agree with link Ronin and Carrot into IP. If possible, you really want to have Carrot on your end board. This helps us play around so many things like Starter, Grass, Raigeki, Lightning Storm, and Evenly Matched. I know that one of those set cards is Double Cross. Let's see if we can bait them to use it early. Mistake number 3. They fall for it. They attach Jet to Gigantic and I add Smashers to my hand. I summon Swap and they bring back red. I summon my own red, and then they try to use IP, but I just banish it. Special blue, use its effect, they try to negate and destroy it with red, but I negate it with my own red. And from here, it's pretty much over as I combo off. I add and special summon Carrot, and then I link into Sprint. Send Angler to the grave to summon 2 beavers and overlay them into Gigantic. Gigantic summons another Swap Frog and I link him to Elf. I bring back Jet, Ronin special summons itself, and then I overlay into Oni Bimaru. I banish their red and move into battle. I never did learn what that last set card was, but I assume it was Gamma Burst since it was activatable this whole turn. Because of these 3 mistakes, I easily won a duel that should have been an uphill battle. Dimension Shifter is still useful against some of the non-Tearlament decks in Ranked. There are 2 things to note with this hand. If you have more than one hand trap, it is probably better to hold off on activating one in the draw or standby phase just to avoid triple tactics. A properly timed shifter can devastate unexpecting players, and if needed, we will have to Ash in the main phase anyways. Second, since Dimension Shifter is a dark monster, even though it will keep the graves empty, it is still a banished target for Bystials. So they are on Dragon Link. They activate Quick Launch and I chain Dimension Shifter. Special Tracer, and then they move into the end phase. They pop their own Tracer since Quick Launch will destroy it anyways, and I banish Dimension Shifter to summon Magnemite. They special summon Magna Rocket, and Magnemite adds True Swarm to my hand. Since we are still under Shifter, I just normal swap and aim to OTK with Gigantic into Jet and Gamma Burst. They had no choice but to Ash here, but keep in mind, negating Gigantic opens up a play into 4 material Zeus. Move to battle and start climbing into our Zeus. I Maxx in the draw phase. They activate Dragon's Ravine and then I Ash it. They end their turn. We test to see if they have a Bystial in hand, so I activate True Swarm, and they did have one. That was all part of my plan anyways. I cleared the board with Zeus. I normal summon Angler, I link into Sprint, send another Angler to the grave, summon 2 Beavers, overlay into Gigantic, and they leave. Here, we literally open with the best possible hand. Maxx is already game breaking, but even more so in Spright. We start by normal summoning Maxx and special blue. We special jet, adding starter, and then we overlay into Gigantic. Gigantic effect to special summon Swap Frog. Swap Frog effect to add back Maxx to our hand. We have so many interruptions for next turn, but we haven't even started our main combo yet. Link into Elf, summon back Swap, send another Swap to the grave. Ronin summons itself. Link into Sprint, send Angler to the grave, overlay the Beavers into Melffy of the Forest, and it adds Caddy to our hand. I set Called By, and I special Caddy in the end phase. They start with normal summon Albaz sending Serenir. We don't really care. Chain Link 2 bounce back my Caddy, Chain Link 3 Maxx so we can bring it back with Elf if they used Call By. They really should have used Bystials before the main phase, or summoning any monster. Since we bring back the targeted monster with Elf, they can't summon their Bystial. They summon Mirror Jade, Chainlink 1 Serenir, Chainlink 2 Melffy of the Forest to negate Mirror Jade and stopping it from attacking, Chainlink 3 send Albion to banish my carrot. Main 2, I target and attempt to banish their Albion so they can't use its effect during the end phase. They try to negate it with Mercurier, but then I just use Called By, negating it. In the end phase, I summon Pity, and then Synchro into Merry Melffys, which then bounces back their Mirror Jade. I use Gigantic, and then they chain their Bystial, but once again I bring back the target with Elf. They really need to learn to use their Bystials before the main phase. It's pretty much over and we just wait for them to leave. Have you ever decked out Tearlament with a Spright deck? I have, and it only took 10 turns to do it. We opened with a decent hand, but we will still lose to Maxx. We just start doing a regular combo, and since they already used their only interruption on my jet, let's just fast forward through my combo. So we end on the Melffys, IP, Sprind, Elf, Imperm, and a Bystial in hand. They start with Foolish sending Sulliek to add Sheeran to their hand. It is very unfortunate that they sent Ludora since that counters my Elf. Chainlink 1 Scream, Chainlink 2 Rhino Heart to send another Rhino to the grave and then add Sulliek to their hand. Rhino sends Havnis to the grave. Havnis attempts to fusion summon, but I target it with Magnemite. Overlay into Exciton Knight, I bounce it away and negate it after it attempts to blow up my board. It would have been over, but they exactly had Seamare and Ash countering my Melffys, and it's going to be a long game. Seamare sends Sheeran to the grave. Sheeran attempts to fusion summon Kitkalos, and then I link into Avermax. I just try to summon back Masquerena, and then they use their Shuffler to put it back into my extra deck. Activate Scream, Kit effect summon back Rhino Heart, and they mill 8 cards. They hit Kelbeck to mill another 5, Shaddoll Beast to draw 1, and they also have another Shuffler in the grave. What a surprise! They also hit a yugioh, so they mill 5 more from both decks, and now they have Snow in the grave. Merly fuses into Kaleido Heart. Once again, they overlay into Exciton Knight and use its effect. Avermax is protected from destruction due to IP. Magnemite adds Duoswarm to my hand. There are only 2 things that can out my Avermax, Zeus or Crime after I use its battle phase effect, so I hit over Exciton Knight and then set Called By. They shuffle back some Tearlament spell traps and then it's their second turn. Normal Rhino sending Havnis to the grave. Havnis attempts to fuse and Kaleido Heart tries to spin back my Called By, and then I chain it to target Havnis. They elect to use Snow here to banish 7. I target Snow with Duoswarm, and then once again they chain Snow, banishing another 7. They link into Dark to summon back my Magnemite. And then they link into Sprind. Sprind sends Merly to the grave. Merly fuses into Kitkalos to add Crime to their hand. They summon back Kaleido Heart, sending Kit to the grave, and then they mill 5 once more. Heartbeat adds Sulliek to their hand. They set 2 cards which are Sulliek and Crime. I normal Penny, and then they chain Snow. I target it with Duoswarm, and then they chain Snow once again to banish 7 more. At this point, they have 3 cards in the grave and 4 cards in deck. Snow sets my Penny, and then I summon Ronin from the grave. I special Red, link into Elf to attempt to summon back Jet. but it gets negated with Ciliac. I summon Ronin again, we overlay into Gigantic, Gigantic hits over his Kaleido Heart, and Avramax hits over Rhino Heart. I attack first and clear the tier names off the board so they can't use Crime when I use Gigantic. Gigantic summons Blue, and then I special Carrot. I overlay Blue and Gigantic into IP, which seems like a slight misplay, but it actually didn't matter. To activate Branded Regained, but I do not want them to draw any cards, so I just pop it. They chain Havness, sending the last 3 cards of their deck to the grave. Shirin attempts to fuse, but then I banish it and summon Druid Swarm. Ciliac negates my Carrot and sends Havness to the grave so they can finally fuse into Rukalos. Rukalos attacks Avramax, and I don't use its battle phase effect since they have Crime set. Avramax bounces back Sprint. I flip summon Penny, and then they banish their entire hand and grave, including a Ciliac on the field to summon Snow. I hit over it with Druid Swarm. They can no longer use Snow. And with 1 card in their deck, Ciliac negates Druid Swarm to send Havness to the grave and then fuse into Kitkalos. Summon back Kaleido Heart, and then they attack over Penny. I just pass my next turn, and we win. See, that was pretty simple. Now it's your turn to deck out the next Tearlament player you face. So this is my Tri-Spright build. Tri-Brigade's consistency improved a bit when they put Tenki back to 3. Foolish Burial, Forbidden Droplet, Sprint all trigger Kit and Angler, so you have some options depending on what you need. Remember, depending what you play against, Imperms can be switched with Bystials. Lightheart is an extender if you have Kit or Karis on the field and only have 1 Beast or Beast Warrior in the grave, then you can use their effect, link into Lightheart, and then you can use those 2 to link into Elf, and then overlay into Gigantic. Finally, keep in mind that if you use Bear Brum to add Revolt to your hand, you are now locked into only summoning Tri-Brigade monsters for the rest of the turn. So let's see what this deck can do. We are going second against Pure Punk. I've never tried Pure Punk before, but it seems really fun. I might try it sometime. For now, let's just speed through their plays since I do not have any interruptions. They end on a quick Synchro, a face down negate, and a Psychic and Punisher. I did overcommit in this duel and made some unnecessary plays, but I wanted to showcase as much as I can of this deck while also still winning. Imagine if they didn't have Maxx this turn. This deck just does so much. I start with flooding the field with my Kit and Sprights, and then they decide to negate my Jet with Ash. I link Kit and Jet into Elf. Kit sends Nerval to the grave, and then Nerval adds Karis to my hand. I summon back Kit with Elf. They attempt to Synchro, but then I negate it with Droplet sending Angler. Activate Angler in the grave, and then they summon Jam Dragon and draw an extra card. I link into Ferrijit and then summon Karos. I overlay into Gigantic. I use Kit's effect to banish 3, but it gets negated. Link into Rugal, and then I draw 1 card. I summon Red, and I finally link into Access Code. I move into battle phase. They try to negate my access code, but then I negate it with Carrot, and then the game is over. Here is my Synchro P.U.N.K Spright list. This deck revolves around Assault Synchron and how easily we can summon it. Assault Synchron and any other level 2 monster, or a Bystial, is already a Baronne or Chengying. However, it is important to remember that if you have Assault Synchron on the board, you can only special summon Synchro monsters from the extra deck. We also have access to the P.U.N.K lines. If you mill Angler with Chaos Ruler or Zombie Vampire, it will trigger the Grave effect, so hopefully you still have 2 Beavers in your deck. This time I have 2 replays to share. Let's see what this deck can do. We open with a great hand, but it would still lose to Maxx. I open with Ogre Dance, but that gets negated with Ash. Normal Zeyamin adding Deer Note. Deer Note reveals Foxy summoning itself. I Synchro into Chaos Ruler. Chainlink 1 Deer Note targeting Ogre Dance, Chainlink 2 Chaos Ruler to mill 5, and then they chain Drew Swarm to banish my Ogre Dance, and then I chain Maxx. I add Magnemite to my hand and Angler gets sent to the grave and it activates. I summon 2 Beavers, and then I summon Blue, and then they give up. Why won't these Master Rank 1 players let me have fun? Let's watch another duel where the other player does not give up. I start with tuning, adding Assault Synchron to my hand. Foxy sends Angler to the grave to summon Zeyamin. Angler summons 2 of its friends. Summon Blue adding Jet. Special Assault Synchron, and then Synchro summon into Cupid Pitch. Cupid Pitch increases its level by 2. Synchro into XL Stardust Dragon. Stardust summons back Assault Synchron, and Cupid adds another Zeyamin to my hand. I Synchro into Baronne. Zeyamin adds Ogre Dance. Deer Note reveals Zeyamin and summons himself, and then we Synchro into Chaos Ruler. Deer Note summons back Ogre Dance, and Chaos Ruler mills 5. Sadly, we miss all of our mills. overlay into Opabinia, link into Spright, use starter to summon Carrot. I could have also linked into Elf to bring back Red, which in hindsight was the better play. I forgot I already used Angler. It was a very long turn. Activate pre-prep and I negate it with Opabinia. They use Change of Heart and then I negate it with Carrot and it's over. I appreciate that player for sitting through my combo. I am going to be 100% honest with you. In my opinion, Double Cross is not a good card in this current meta. With majority of my games being decided on turn 1 or turn 2, this is way too slow. If I lose to coin toss, drawing this card going second will not help me in any way. In the very least, I can use smashers to break my opponent's board. When I was looking at the recent Spright decks that people use, the top Master Duel events, none of them were playing this card, so they probably agree with me. However, there are two situations where I think this card is good. This card is great if the meta ever slows down and control decks are popular. Or if you're playing in a tournament where you can guarantee going first in a best of 3. The combo here is use Swap Frog to send Testudo to the grave and then summon it back with Double Cross on your opponent's turn. Now no one can special summon monsters with over 1800 or more attack. This card can just be an extra Bystial or Imperm instead, and those cards you can use right away. Shargna is a level 2 tuner that can summon itself as long as there is a monster with 2000 attack or more. If you are going second or have a 2300 attack gigantic, you can have an extra body. Pixies and Cat Shark are both attack manipulation cards. I don't think they're very good since we have burst, but it is an option. End of Anubis and Amorphage Goliath are both mannequin cat targets, so if your opponent special summons a monster and they have a dark or earth monster, you can summon one of these. I think Triple Tactics is a great card, but it's hard to make space for it. If you want to run a little over 40 cards, you can add 1 or 2 copies of it. Silent Graveyard and Different Dimension Ground are both budget copies of Dimension Shifter. They are much worse than a hand trap, but it is an option if you cannot spare the UR points. 2 copies of Evenly Matched might help if you find yourself always going second or seeing a lot of stun decks. Djinn Buster can negate 1 monster effect activation. Sky Cavalry can bounce back a monster at battles and is usually a safe Zeus material, although it can be banished by monster effects, unlike Opabinia, which is unaffected by monster effects. Wallow is a rank 6 monster that you can summon with 2 Bystials. It can target 1 card from your opponent's grave, shuffle it back in the deck, or you can summon it or put it on your field. Codebreaker is an easy out to Baguska, but I don't really see people playing Baguska anymore. Dark into any dark monster from your opponent's grave gives you access to both Spright Elf and Spright. Donner is a Link 2 that can pop itself and 1 monster your opponent controls. You can also bring it back with Elf for additional pops in the future. Unicorn is usually used on your opponent's turn when you use IP, but I do not think it is good enough. So that completes my comprehensive guide to Spright. This took a lot of work, so I'd appreciate if you consider doing all the usual YouTube stuff of liking, sharing, and subscribing. I really hope this has helped you in any way. Thank you for watching.